My life is in your hands. Make your choice.
This is the moment that changed him.
You were in the wrong place at the right time.
Sound vaguely familiar? It should, as the parallel to design and quality of writing and story stand nearly to the same levels of what this game has, heavy love for and clearly influenced by in a multitude of ways. That line that seems eerily familiar is to that of none other than one of gaming's Mount Rushmore of games, Half-Life 2.
The right man in the wrong place can make all the difference in the world.
You were in the wrong place at the right time.
What these lines of dialogue do are set the tone for both games right from the start. The first Dishonored by no means is a copycat or clone of Half-Life in any way. It pays tribute and takes inspiration, just like most forms of media get inspired from another source. Dishonored steps out of the shadows of Half-Life to be its own series, filled with masterful design in all facets.
If you hadn't been here...
No more! Not again! Mommy! No! Get away from her! Corvo!
Corvo!
Dishonored is a series in which true tragedy befalls a highly talented expert in his craft bodyguard turned assassin. If you choose that label, that is. Technically, in the first Dishonored game, the main protagonist, Corvo Altano, does not have to assassinate anyone in the game. That's up to you, the player. That's what makes this game so exceptional and replayable is the simple circumstance of choice. Play as you will, but be warned, all choices have consequence. And narratively, if you choose to do evil, you are rewarded with evil and an undesirable outcome. As with most things, a gray area does exist, but in the end, a side you will land on. But the Dishonored series is so much more than just the simplicity of choice, good or bad or somewhere in between. The design and layout of levels, and especially the hub-based location you build up slowly through the course of the game, is a benchmark in game design etiquette. The story even solidifies that narrative by warning you not to make mistakes again and be careful whom you trust. Before getting too far ahead of ourselves, Dishonored is the stealth and first-person shooter combat game, or a myriad of both, that takes a dark take on a late 18th to 19th century London. Adding in the rat plague from Europe's 14th century and blending it with the mystical, demonic aura, we create Dishonored. What Dishonored brings is a tale of corruption at the highest of levels, political sabotage from anyone and everyone. The game begins with that of the Empress, Jessamine Caldwin, being stabbed by Dodd the assassin right in front of her helpless love, Corvo Altano, and daughter Emily. While restrained, Dodd kidnaps the young future Empress Emily. Now, the game does get a bit deeper into political jargon, and that's great for building more lore and substance, but for the sake of this video, I'm not touching it, as it doesn't add much value overall for history and significance as a whole. But as you can imagine, Corvo sets out to rescue his daughter and, if still possible, save yet to be Empress Emily. Corvo faces many hardships and deceit along the way, and depending on how you play, you'll either leave the city of Dunwall worse than when you started, or for much better and for a brighter future. Then we have, of course, the 2 DLCs before we reach the sequel. Dodd, as we mentioned earlier, is the leader assassin who killed the Empress in the first place. The DLC tells the story of what happens from his point of view up until the end of the game, from Corvo's side. Dodd has his own key role to play and a tale of either continuing bloodshed or a redemption arc story, if
Capture
possible.
as many as you can.
Or In the end, will it all be for naught? The two DLCs dive deeply into a lot of interesting story from his point in a short time. A lot of behind-the-scenes elements are present that do in fact deeply matter to Corvo's side without Corvo having any knowledge of it at all.
No one will ever know exactly what it took to save Emily Kaldwin from a living death as Delilah's puppet. No one except the outsider. I've learned that our choices always matter. To someone.
The Knife of Dunwall teeters on interesting and a great continuation to that of somewhat disappointing in level design and execution. Luckily, the next DLC, The Brigmore Witches, takes Dodd's first DLC to a higher advantage point. See what I did there? All along, seeds were planted in the first DLC, leaving breadcrumbs for you to figure out where all this was leading to. And it leads to something even greater, something much more fulfilling than Part 1. As the DLC is really the flip side of Dishonored Space Game, that means we travel and set sail to a new locale. I bring you Dishonored 2. Corvo succeeded. Emily was rescued, and now 15 years later, the rat plague is all but vanished due to results of your good and canon ending of Dishonored 1, but also from the cure developed by a few trustworthy allies you had of Piero and Anton. Emily is older now and rules as Empress, with Corvo once again the bodyguard and, of course, last of her family, the father. That is until a surprise guest arrives and claims to be the true heir apparent, the deceased Jessamine Kaldwin's sister, Delilah Copperspoon. Now, my only gripe with this entire scene and plotline is how everyone just takes her word at face value, and everything goes to shit instantly for Emily and Corvo, with one of the two turning to stone, depending on who you choose to play as.
Delilah's been here, getting stronger, turning people against me. Why didn't I see it coming? What was I doing during that time?
But sure, maybe just absolutely everyone was once again out to screw over Emily and Corvo all along again. That's some terrible choosing of allies at your side. Did we not just clean house in the first game? Maybe Corvo was too gentle and soft the first time around. That aside, one of you is, as mentioned, turned to stone and powers stripped away, the other held captive until you escape. Not like you're just going to sit in a room they put you in and wait. Smart decision number 2. Leave a master assassin who excels at getting in and out of buildings untied and free in a room by themselves. Great idea, Delilah. Doomed to fail right from the start. Now with Emily or Corvo detained, after escaping and on the run, you slum your way back to the top, going through cities to find information on how to stop the immortal Delilah. Learn secrets and overthrow her closest allies, rescue or meet up with some old faithful faces, and you are well on your way to justice. The Outsider is back again to help you if you choose, giving you the tools once more to take out Delilah, who is also using similar powers and witchcraft. The Outsider has been on this journey with us for quite a while, and we'll get to him more for the next game, but for now, our focus is all only on Delilah. Her allies crossed off one by one until the inevitable reunion commences. Revenge has been the easy choice, the easy way to play through the game, but it is also the worst outcome. While killing and maintaining high chaos throughout the game, you will gradually notice changes, heavily in decaying of environments. The people around you will start to leave your side, and everything you're trying to accomplish will be left with nothing but ash and emptiness in the end. This is done in higher contrast to that of the first game. The results of good or bad are more intense and meaningful compared to the original. Once you succumb to finally enacting your revenge on Delilah, a hollow result, you will be left with but if you did choose to take revenge in a more subtle way, without death and murder all throughout the game, a city not left in ruin and abandoned, but a return to its former glory. Now, in the end, no matter what you chose to do, something has always been there throughout the series, with many questions still awaiting to be answered. The Outsider. The one reborn in death, becoming some sort of deity between worlds, has aided Corvo and Emily throughout many years, and yet his goal is still yet to be fully unveiled. This next and final game in the series is about to answer that lingering question we've had lurking in the shadows for quite some time. The death of the Outsider. I saved mentioning a key character from Dishonored 2 until this last game, as this game is her time to shine and share her version of events and stories from characters throughout the series so far. Megan Foster, formerly known as Billy Lurk and Dodd's second in command, all the way back in the first game and the DLC Knife of Dunwall. As her time as an elite assassin came to an end with her betrayal of Dodd and failing and losing to him, but being spared by him, she embarked on another journey of redemption in Dishonored 2, assisting Empress Emily, as she had once partaken in assisting in the death of Emily's mother and previous Empress. This time, she leaves the role of boat chauffeur in Dishonored 2 and returns to her roots of assassin once again to put an end to the Outsider's ways of evil puppet master.
This is how it ends.
In the end, as there is no next game or DLC in this series yet, I'll assume the good ending is canon, as it has been throughout all the games up to this point. The Outsider dies in one way or another, literally by your hands or figuratively by your hands. The good end being figuratively, as the Outsider is spared in his human form, one that has long been forgotten for centuries, as he has been under control, now releasing him from his eternal torture, free to live as human once again in a world that's all but left him behind. Let's circle back a bit to the beginning.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Oh, sorry. Wrong quote. The one about Half-Life 2.
The right man in the wrong place can make all the difference in the world.
The visual design director taking what he used for inspiration for Half-Life 2's City 17 and configuring it and further developing something even greater for this game. Don't get me wrong, City 17 is fantastic design for that universe, but it feels more like a handcrafted and unique city developed in Dishonored, more so specifically Dishonored 1. Every building's design and placement meant to establish varying character paths, artistic lighting and mood for the time of day used, the layout of the streets and buildings meticulously placed and adapted for different playstyles and levels of chaos. Also, a key in quality game design that is also a heavy focus in Valve games is the use of height in level design. This is not a Valve game, I know, a Arcane Studios and Bethesda game, but a trademark philosophy of why a lot of Valve games are so great is in part due to this level design technique. Nearly every map in Dishonored throughout the series allows the player to traverse from the bottom sewers and disgusting streets all the way up to the rooftops, multiple stories high, and everything in between. You could play almost the entire series at the highest of heights possible, replay the game at the lowest, and nearly have an entirely new game worth of experiences. A huge part of what makes this game so absolutely fantastic in design and replayability. The second game even allows different characters to choose from, further enhancing this feature. The sequel games take some things a step further, but I would also say do so somewhat at a cost. The changes in environment due to gameplay are taken a bit further, but I would also say at least for Dishonored 2, that the hub area on the Dreadful Whale ship isn't as satisfying as the first game's pub. Also, it doesn't tie into the story at all or have any levels tied to it, making it more of a plot device of filler content and exclusively a bridge between levels. The level design is very interesting at a glance as well, and it's pretty fantastic that you are able to see a lot of areas you travel to all from your central hub boat. Some issues arise when you actually get to those locations and find out that even though you are there, most of it is unreachable and just a background to look at. This is what makes the first game stand out more, is that, for the most part, you go through all the buildings and locations you see. The levels seem more interactive, whereas the sequels tend to be just a mess of buildings you go through over and over and back through again. The environment's usually more interesting than what you are actually playing through. Where does the series go from here? Corvo and Emily's journey is essentially all but over once again. The Outsider no more, most side characters either dead or long gone. It is a bit of a shame a lot of characters from the first game were never really involved in the franchise again. It would have been nice if Callista, the teacher of Emily's studies in Dishonored 1, had more of a purpose after the first game's events. Samuel the boatman is mentioned to have passed sometime after the events in the first game. Dodd, all but a distant memory now. That doesn't leave us with much, or really anything to work with. Meaning Dishonored 3, which could but really shouldn't have Corvo and Emily go through a third experience of being overthrown, leads us to new characters or something much larger to deal with in the vastness that is the Void. Maybe a new Outsider is made somehow, or maybe Dishonored has just reached its end and needs no more. I'd say money speaks much louder than ill-advised sequels, meaning and making Dishonored 3 or a spin-off Dishonored basically inevitable. As the future in the franchise has yet to begin pre-production or, quite frankly, anything yet that we know about, hopefully we are able to continue this beloved and quite frankly stellar series and not rehash the same concepts again if it is indeed destined to continue in some form. Hopefully, we find something familiar and fresh to the series going forward. Corvo and Emily have dealt with enough. Between choices, numerous story arcs and characters, and masterfully crafted environments, these beloved characters had to traverse. Only time and place can make all the difference in the world and the future of the series.